You're listening to Beyond the Keystone, a Keystone Cold Cases production. This special monthly segment aims to take you on a cross-country journey into the unknown to cover crimes from across the United States. From small towns to major cities, we're giving a voice to the voiceless, one case at a time. So hop in and ride along as we sleuth our way across the nation, and maybe, one day, even beyond it. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Keystone, where we travel outside our beloved Pennsylvania and bring you crimes from across the United States. I'm your host, Melissa Spivey, here with my gal pal, Chelsea.
Hey guys.
How are you today? It's the afternoon, which is weird. We usually record at night.
I know, I'm totally not used to it. We're like usually night owls when we're doing it. That's why we're recording it earlier, because you're not a night owl compared to some of us.
Yeah, they'll be recording and I'm like, yeah guys, I'm in bed.
Exactly. No, but it's a nice day. It's the weekend, right? It's Friday.
Oh, thank goodness. All right, well, before we get into today's episode, just a reminder to please like, follow, and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. You can also follow us on our socials at KCC Pod. And if you have anything you want to say about this segment, Beyond the Keystone specifically, you can email us at beyondthekeystone@gmail.com. With all of that being said, let's get on the road, and we are going to head to Arizona. Our case today is the unsolved murders of 19-year-old Lisa Grueri and 20-year-old Brandon Rumba. So this case is really tragic, but it's also incredibly mysterious, and there's parts of it that are very creepy. But before I dive in, at the beginning of each Beyond the Keystone episode, I like to give you guys a little background on the state we're discussing. So let's talk about the great state of Arizona. Arizona joined the United States in February of 1912 and became the 48th state. And it's home to the Grand Canyon, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. And Arizona is also one of the 4 corner states where you can stand in that one spot and be in 4 states at once. Arizona's major industries are, of course, tourism with the Grand Canyon. They have a lot of national parks and stuff. But also mining, specifically copper. Apparently, Arizona produces the most copper in the United States.
Which is crazy. Because apparently we're in a low decline, and they're getting rid of the penny because
it costs more, I think, to make it than it costs. Well, shit, I don't know what Arizona's gonna do. Round of applause for this next Arizona fact. Arizona does not participate in daylight savings time. I would move there just for that.
That's amazing.
I hate daylight savings.
It really sets you off. It's only an hour, but still.
It's the worst. Arizona's largest city is also its capital, and that is the city of Phoenix. When it comes to crime, yikes. Arizona has a higher murder rate and a higher rate of rape than the national average. Although, oddly enough, robbery is lower than the national average. So Arizona, specifically Maricopa County, has a frighteningly long list of missing people. That being said, Maricopa County is huge. We're talking half the state. So, of course, it's going to have a lot. But the list of missing people and John and Jane Does is wild. If you ever Google a list, you scroll forever. And then to end this section with a bit of levity before we get to the case, I want to share with you some of Arizona's craziest laws. And I'm going to be honest, compared to the laws we talked about in Alabama and Alaska, Arizona is quite practical. So this information comes directly from the Hastings and Hastings Accident Lawyers website. All right, this first one I like. It is illegal to rig those claw games. The ones you find in restaurants and arcades that pick up the stuffed animal, but it never picks it up, or it always drops it before you get to the prize.
Well, that makes sense because they're damn ripoffs.
Exactly, but I feel like it should be illegal to rig them anywhere. In Tombstone, Arizona, it is illegal for an adult over the age of 18 to have a missing tooth visible when smiling.
I think that's insane.
I completely agree. I don't think it's enforced, but apparently it is a law. In Goodyear, Arizona, it's illegal to spit. You can't spit on sidewalks, buildings, crosswalks, which I'm on board for that law because that's disgusting. In El Mirage, Arizona, it is a misdemeanor infraction to hang a clothesline anywhere on a residential property, which sounds like my HOA.
That is terrible. It's your property. Do what you want.
I know, right? If you want to hang your underpants out there, go for it. So don't ever try to call Miss Cleo in Avondale, Arizona, because palm reading and fortune reading is illegal for profit. Hypnotism is heavily regulated. It is illegal with the exception of medical professionals, and no word on whether or not magic 8 balls are permitted. Compared to the laws we talked about in Alabama and Alaska, I feel like these are pretty tame. Like, especially compared to the law in Alaska that says you may not have a kangaroo in a barbershop at any time. That's my favorite law ever. Alright, it is the morning of Saturday, October 18th, 2003, in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Paula Guerreri is worried. Paula's daughter, 19-year-old Lisa Guerreri, and her boyfriend, 20-year-old Brandon Rumbaugh, were supposed to have been home by now from an overnight camping trip. The couple was supposed to be back early that morning. They both had things to do later that day, especially Brandon, who was scheduled to work that afternoon. So Lisa and Brandon had borrowed Paula's white F-150 pickup truck for the night, and Paula had been a little bit on the fence about lending them her car, and it wasn't that she didn't trust them, she did. They were both really good kids, but the car was overdue for an oil change, and Paula was concerned about the distance. But concern for her truck was long gone and had been replaced by anxiety and worry at this point because it was getting later in the day. They should have been home, and this was not either one of them. They were both very responsible, they were punctual, and they were considerate. If they had decided to stop on the way home or do something that would delay their return, they would have contacted Paula to give her a heads up. Paula would later go on to say, quote, "The day that she went missing, I knew that there was something wrong. Call it a mother's instinct. I don't know what it was, but I knew there was something wrong," end quote. And I definitely got the feeling that Paula and Lisa were incredibly, incredibly close mother-daughter duo. So according to reports, Paula tried calling Brandon's cell phone, but the call wouldn't go through as they were outside of the service area. So my guess is that she probably got that recording that's "The subscriber you are trying to reach is out of the service area. Please try your call again later." And remember, it's 2003, so cell service is not what it is today, and they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So Paula called Brandon's dad, and she called the couple's friends and anyone she could think of who might have any information about where they had gone to camp and where they were now. And the friend group became especially concerned when Brandon didn't show up to work because he was really passionate about his job, which we will talk about later, and they were okay, something is wrong if he's just no call, no showing. By this point, both of the families and the friends are we gotta figure something out. So Paula knew the couple had traveled to a location north of Phoenix, but she didn't know much more than that. And at some point that day, and I don't have an exact time, but Paula called the police to report the couple missing. So now I want to tell you about our missing couple, and I'm going to start with 19-year-old Lisa Marie Guerreri. She was born on July 14th, 1984, to parents John and Paula Guerreri. Lisa was one of 3 children. She had 2 brothers. Tragedy had actually struck this family in 2002 when Lisa's father, John, passed away from cancer at only 48 years old, which was heartbreaking. And prior to his death, John had asked Lisa's uncle Mike, so I'm guessing John's brother, to take care of Lisa and watch out for her. And Uncle Mike, of course, took this duty very, very seriously. And actually, Lisa hadn't told Uncle Mike about the camping trip because she knew that he was going to be worried. Friends and family described Lisa as someone who loved life, and they acknowledged that although it's cliche, Lisa really did light up a room. She was one of those people who always had a smile and always looked on the bright side of things. Growing up, Lisa loved to sing and dance. She apparently had a beautiful singing voice, and she was involved in her school choir and also her church's choir. I found a little blurb about her, and apparently she loved NSYNC. Same girl. And she especially loved Justin Timberlake. And in 2002, who didn't love Justin Timberlake? Lisa had graduated from Mesa High School, and at the time of our case, she was a sophomore at MCC, or Mesa Community College. So she was also working while she was attending school. She was a receptionist at a company called SRP, which stands for Salt River Project. And I believe that the company provided like water and electricity, so it was like a utility company. Lisa's ultimate goal for after college was to be an event planner, specifically a wedding planner. And I have so much respect for event and like wedding planners. Not only do they have to deal with heinous clients and bridezillas, but that's also an industry where you're giving up your weekends and holidays like forever because that's when most events are.
Well, not only that, I feel like even though as an event planner, nothing ever goes according to plan. So you have to be able to pivot like at a snap of a finger in case something does not go right. It takes a very cool, calm, and collected person to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I couldn't do it. I would have a nervous breakdown on day one.
I'd get too annoyed.
So Lisa was living in an apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Brandon had actually just moved in with her about 2 months prior to our case. So Brandon Keith Rumbaugh was born on May 7th, 1983, to parents Robert and Desiree Rumbaugh. He had a sister named Jessica, and according to reports, the two siblings were very, very close. And Brandon was very active growing up, and he was described as goofy, fun loving, and spontaneous with an infectious sense of humor. Similar to Lisa, Brandon was like one of those glass half full kind of people. He was very optimistic and just excited for life in general. And while in school, Brandon was very active in the arts department. Not only did he enjoy painting and sculpting, but he was an incredibly gifted dancer. And I think he was like the only boy ever on the school dance team. He took part in a ton of performances. His mom said that Brandon was her favorite dance partner.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that sweet?
It's so sweet.
So Brandon was also in the band where he played the drums, and I read in a couple places that he also played like the trumpet and the trombone. Like this kid did everything. He was a busy guy. Brandon had graduated in 2001 from Coronado High School and joined the U.S. Marine Reserves, and he was also attending Arizona State University. And I believe he was medically discharged from the Marines about 2 years in because of a knee injury. At the time of our case, Brandon was working as a personal trainer at a gym in Mesa, Arizona. So apparently growing up, he had always been like a really skinny, kind of like gangly kid. But after his knee injury, he still wants to be able to work out, but obviously he was limited. So he started lifting weights, and he went from like this little stick man to being pretty ripped. And his ultimate career goal after college was to open his own gym. And just from reading about both Lisa and Brandon, I wholeheartedly believe that they both would have met their career goals and they would have flourished. They were both incredibly hardworking, they had both overcome obstacles to get where they were, and it seems like they just had such passions for their goals. Brandon and Lisa had met in a nightclub the year prior to our case, so this camping trip was actually to celebrate their 1 year anniversary. And camping was their fallback plan, as they had really wanted to celebrate by going to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. However, that would have been a drive of over like 6 hours each way. And of course, as young college students, they didn't have a ton of disposable income, and Lord knows you need to be a millionaire to afford Disney. Maybe a billionaire.
It's ridiculous.
It's so much money.
There was like this funny TikTok where a parent was like, to save you all the money and struggle, just take pictures with your kids and they'll never know when they're younger because they won't ever remember it either way. So he like fudges pictures to show his kids in them.
It's so true. With Photoshop, we can be like, yeah, you were totally there when you were 4. You don't remember?
No, it's like really expensive. We've taken Landon twice and it's brutal.
They were disappointed that their Disney plans weren't going to work out, but they were ultimately just really happy and excited to like be together and go do something together. This young couple was completely head over heels for one another, and they had seriously discussed marriage, and there were reports that they may have been engaged, but Lisa's mother says she never saw a ring, so maybe it was just like, our plan is to get engaged. And they both decided they wanted to finish school and establish themselves before they got married, which is super smart. And about their relationship, Paula, Lisa's mom, would say, quote, "The sun set and rose on Brandon. They would play a lot and tickle each other. He constantly had his arm around her or holding her hand. Both of them loved each other so, so much," end quote. And she also said, quote, He treated her like a queen. He really did. End quote. So the families of each one liked the other one. Like her family really liked Brandon, his family really liked her. Everybody was happy. And it's very clear that there was a mutual admiration, respect, and love they had for each other. And just a little side note, Brandon's family briefly considered that maybe the couple had decided to drive to Vegas to elope, but they knew both kids and they're like, no, they would have wanted their families there. So this camping trip, their plan was to drive to this area known as Bumblebee, Arizona, and find a spot to basically park the car and set up camp. And their plan was to sleep in the back of the pickup truck in sleeping bags and basically just stargaze in each other's arms. So super cute, super romantic. And it was actually apparently kind of a recreation of their first date, where like they didn't go camping, but they did something similar that included stargazing. And they chose the area of Bumblebee because Brandon had camped there before with friends, so he kind of knew the area. Lisa had never been there. So the town of Bumblebee, Arizona, I want to share a little bit about it because it's important to know like the kind of place they were camping in and just how secluded this area was. And I do want to point out, like nowadays in 2025, this is a very popular spot for outdoor enthusiasts to camp and do whatever it is that outdoorsy people do. I wouldn't know. Bumblebee, named after the nearby Bumblebee Creek, is actually a ghost town, and it's located in the Bradshaw Mountains in Yavapai County, which it's like a little over an hour north of Phoenix. And the town was established in 1863. There were mining sites around the town, and the town even had a post office, so it was an outpost for the U.S. cavalry. But after not too long, the mining dried up and the town didn't last very long. And by the 1920s, it had a population of 25 people. And over the years, a couple people have tried to make Bumblebee like a tourist attraction and kind of breathe life into the little town, but it's really never taken off. However, as I said earlier, it has become a big camping spot and like a spot for RVs. So while this area is popular now, it was not as heavily traveled back in 2003. So I will say though, there were other people around them, like around Lisa and Brandon, like they weren't at a campground or anything like that. They had basically pulled off of Bumblebee Road a little over a mile from Interstate 17, and they just kind of parked the truck there. But witnesses would come forward saying they had seen the F-150 truck, so they weren't in total isolation, but they also weren't within sight of anyone else. Does that make sense?
It does.
I had a hard time kind of understanding about the area, because some sources were like, it's so isolated, and others were like, it was believed that there could have been about 1,000 people camping around that area. So, like, they were near people, but they couldn't see people, I guess. Police were initially hopeful that someone would, like, have seen or heard something. And, like, a few people did come forward and said they saw the F-150, but we don't know if the spot where the truck was found is that where Brandon and Lisa originally parked? Or was the truck moved by a third party? Like, we have no idea. So on Friday, October 17th, 2003, Lisa and Brandon left Scottsdale to head to Bumblebee. They had borrowed Lisa's mom truck, like I said, and they also borrowed her camcorder, which is like a handheld video camera for any younger listeners who aren't familiar with that. On their way to their destination, the couple had stopped at a grocery store, and I'm sure they picked up snacks and stuff, and while they were there, they bought a disposable camera. And again, if we have listeners who are too young to remember those, they are exactly what they sound like. A little plastic camera with a roll of film inside, and once you had taken your, 30 pictures, you would take the entire camera to like CVS or Walgreens and have the photos developed. And you wouldn't get the camera back. It was like thrown out after the film was removed. So Lisa and Brandon picked up a disposable camera and got on their way. And Paula did speak to Lisa at some point on the drive, asking if they had made it there safely. And Lisa was like, no, we still have a while to go. So Paula would later say that everything sounded fine on the phone. She and Lisa said their I love yous and then hung up. So now what happened in the next 24 hours, really the next 12 hours, is unknown. So now we're at the beginning of our story. Paula has called Brandon's family, she's called the couple's friends, and she has called the police to report Brandon and Lisa missing. So some of Brandon's friends were like familiar with where they thought Brandon might have gone. So they kind of started an unofficial search party like that very same day, albeit later. And there isn't really much information about the police were doing during this time, because it seems like family and friends of the couple were the ones kind of leading the charge to find them. So night falls, but they are out there again first thing on Sunday morning, searching high and low for the couple. And I wish I knew the area better, but it seems like they were looking everywhere, looking down every dirt road, every pull off spot, anywhere they could think of. And one of Brandon's friends, he and Brandon had camped in that area before in a specific spot. So this friend and a few others, I'm not sure how many, but a few of them, they decided to go to this same vicinity that they had camped in before. And around 3:30 p.m. on that Sunday, October 19th, the friends spotted the white F-150 truck. So they're like, oh, this is great. Like, we found them. So they're walking up to the truck and everything seems okay. Like, there weren't any signs of an accident. The truck didn't look disabled in any way. But as they got closer, they made the horrific discovery. Lisa and Brandon had been shot multiple times. They were still in their sleeping bags in the bed of the truck. So I just want to talk about this discovery. Like, the friends who found it, these poor kids, like, they're probably so pumped when they saw the truck. Like, they probably, it was such a weight off their shoulders. And then to have to find the bodies of your friends, especially like that, like almost execution style. How do you ever get that image out of your brain?
I don't think they probably will, like, ever.
Oh, I can't imagine. That's terrifying. So the horrified friends quickly go looking for help and they find a police officer who immediately calls in backup. And police get to the scene, they start looking around. Both Lisa and Brandon had been shot multiple times, and investigators would later say that they believed Lisa may have woken up during the attack. Commander Tom Bolt was quoted as saying, "There's evidence that Lisa probably woke up at some point during the attack, but we can't say for sure right now," end quote. I don't know what led them to say that. They've remained very tight-lipped about this case, although it seems like as we get further away from the case happening, they're letting out little details here and there. Police did find shell casings at the scene, but there was no gun to be found. And I don't know much about guns, so I'm sorry for my ignorance, but this kept coming up in my research with people saying that the caliber of gun that was used was a strange choice to commit a murder with. It was a .25 caliber, and I guess as far as I can tell, that means the bullets were really small.
I also do not know much about guns at all either. Not the one to ask.
I know. Like, I was trying to look it up, and a lot of, like, people were saying, like, that's such a weird gun to pick if you're going to commit a murder. There were only 2 things missing. The keys to the F-150 truck were missing, and the camcorder was missing. So investigators didn't really think this was a robbery gone wrong, but, like, it is strange that the keys were taken. Why would you take the keys and not the car? I don't know. And they knew the camcorder was missing because they found the case, or, like, the bag it came in, and to this day, neither the keys or the camcorder have ever been found. So when they searched around the area of the crime scene, they found the couple's disposable camera, and this is where things get weird. The disposable camera was found about 100 feet away from the vehicle, and it had been damaged, leading police to speculate that the camera had been thrown there. But even though the camera was broken, they were able to develop the film inside, and the pictures they found would leave them with more questions than they had started with. Which, first of all, I think it's weird if someone wanted to get rid of the camera, why would you, like, if you took the gun, why wouldn't you take the camera? Like, if they snapped a picture of, you know? Like, why would you just throw it? Obviously, they were going to find it.
Maybe they thought that it would break. You never know.
I feel like they thought it would break, because those cameras were pretty flimsy.
Yes. Very.
Yeah. There are 3 pictures that have been released, and I do not know if they only took these 3 pictures. I don't know if these are the only 3 pictures that could be salvaged. And, like, I don't know if there's other pictures that they didn't release. From the research, I believe that they only took these 3 pictures. And I want to describe each picture and then we can talk about them a little bit. And Chelsea, you have the pictures, so if you want to start looking at them. The first picture is of Lisa. She's sitting in the bed of the truck. It's dark out. And I don't know why these pictures are in black and white, unless they bought a disposable camera that only did black and white. But it's dark out and she's sitting in the bed of the truck in the corner of it. She's fully dressed in jeans, a belt, and a black tank top. She's sitting with, like, her legs spread and her knees kind of bent. and one of her arms is outstretched and like the other's bent. And she's smiling in this picture. For me to look at it, I think the smile looks genuine, but according to a write up by Ashley Paredes for ABC 15 Arizona, Paula saw the picture and is quoted as saying, quote, "It wasn't her smile. It was like she was scared and she was smiling," end quote. I don't know, like I feel like a mom knows their kid. But I've also seen people who are like, I feel like she looked too deep into it. I don't know. I think it looks like a genuine smile, but I didn't know her, so I don't know what her smile normally looked like.
I will say, as a mom, like Landon smiles. I mean, yeah, he'll do his fake smiles, and sure, they're good for some people, but for me, I know it's not his real smile. So, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a mom would know their smile. Like if it's like everybody has like a I'm uncomfortable smile and like a real smile and a fake. Like everybody has a billion smiles. So the second picture is of Brandon, and it's basically in the same position as Lisa in the corner of the truck of the bed truck bed. Wow. In this picture, though, his arms are crossed and he is not smiling. And, like, it's hard to tell if he's just doing a pose, like arms crossed, like mean mugging kind of face, or if he's, like, legitimately upset or scared, I guess. It's hard to tell, is he pissed off about something?
Well, I think it's weird because if you're looking at this, they're both sitting in the exact same position in the back of this bed. So why would they take pictures like this? Like I could see like one taking the picture on one side and one taking a picture on the other side. You literally have to get out of the truck bed to take this picture. And it's clearly obvious in the picture she's not wearing shoes.
Yeah, you're right. Like, why would they take it in the exact same spot? Why wouldn't you be like, oh, take a picture of me, I'll take a picture of you, but sit right where you started?
Yeah, to me it doesn't make sense.
Well, what really doesn't make sense is the third picture, because it's the creepiest and most confusing picture ever. Authorities believe that the film had been overexposed, which is why the picture is in such bad quality. And I have heard and read like 1,000 different explanations for this picture. I'm gonna try to describe it. We essentially can see a light fixture hanging, we think, and then it looks like maybe a hanging plant or like fake ivy. And then in the background, there's potentially a window. To me, though, it looks like a sliding glass door with those long blinds. Like, what do you see, Charles? Like, this is a weird picture, right?
It's a weird picture. I'm not going to lie. Though, I don't know, because you mentioned car, and that could be a visor, but also the markings on it, they were in like a desert area. That could be dust on it, and those are just smudges on a window. Like the windshield.
Oh, that's true.
But that light doesn't make sense.
No, I think it looks like they were standing outside of someone's house taking a picture into the house. And like you can see the reflection of everything. I saw that theory online somewhere, and someone was like, maybe for some reason they were taking a picture of someone in a house and the flash went off and they weren't expecting it to, and the person came out. But I don't know. I just feel like, why would these two kids who are going camping for their anniversary like randomly go to someone's house and peek in?
Yeah.
So it's weird. And we'll post this picture. We'll post it on our socials so you can see it. Now I want to talk about some of the biggest questions and like ideas around these pictures, which we just mentioned a few. But did Lisa and Brandon take those pictures of each other? Or did someone else take them? Was it Lisa taking that picture of Brandon and so forth? Or was a third party taking these pictures? And then in the second picture, well, technically the third picture, but where the hell was that taken? Because we know they didn't buy the camera until they were on their way to the campsite. So did they had to have stopped somewhere maybe in between? And there's mention that this could have been a restaurant in Bumblebee or the surrounding area, but the restaurant that they think it may have been has since closed, so they can't like compare it to whatever the restaurant looks like. But I feel like that's something they could have easily checked.
Well, I mean, I know right now people just use cards for everything. It's like cashless, but back then I feel like it wasn't. Everyone carried cash. So maybe it was hard to do that way. But if they had cell phones, wouldn't they be able to ping them? So if they did stop somewhere, I mean, because like it sounds like they're in a pretty desolate area where there are not any restaurants. I feel like they could have been able to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't really understand why they didn't, and nothing in the research mentioned pinging cell phones or anything. So I don't know why they couldn't have done that, and I don't know why. I feel like someone would remember what the inside of the restaurant looked like.
And not just that, if they would have pinged the phones, they would have known if they were actually in that spot the entire night or not.
Well, except remember, Brandon didn't have service, so I don't know if it'll still ping if it doesn't have connection.
Hmm. I don't know.
Like, I know you can call like 911 if you don't have service on your cell phone, but I don't know if back in 2003 if you could do that. I don't remember.
That's true. That was a long time ago.
I know.
I didn't even have a cell phone that year.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. In the week after the murders, the police began looking for a man named Michael Villers. And I felt like this was really strange. They put this out in newspapers. It was specifically in newspaper editions on October 23rd and the 24th. And it said that detectives were asking for the public's help finding a 34-year-old man named Michael Villers. They listed the car he may have been driving and even included the license plate number. And Lieutenant Steve Francis said the following quote: Villers is thought to have been in the area of the crime scene sometime late Friday night or early Saturday morning, and detectives need to speak with Villers. End quote. And then he added, quote, Villers is not a suspect, but is an investigative lead, end quote. Which, I mean, I'm glad they had someone that they wanted to talk to, but I feel like that's so weird to read in the newspaper. Like, they just outed someone they're looking for. I don't know. I thought that was a weird thing to do.
I think that's strange.
Thank you. Okay, I'll have to send you the article so you can actually read it and be like, what? And then after that, I have no idea what happened with Michael Villers. Did they find him? Did he know anything? There's nothing ever mentioned about him again. Real quick, I want to go over some theories, and to make it clear, these are just theories. And I think some of the issues with this case is that there seems to be such little information and just so many questions floating around that people like are speculating and rumors are getting started. So I saw a whole bunch of different things, but who knows what is, concrete. So one of the first theories is this was just a random act of violence. Was this a stranger who came upon the couple and killed them? They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time and the wrong person came along? To me, I feel like this one is most likely. Some people have speculated that maybe this was a robbery gone wrong. Like, did someone try to steal the truck and then they realized Lisa and Brandon were in the back? I kind of think it was that one. I kind of think this is just a random act of violence. Someone came across them and thought it would be fun. I don't know. But it reminds me of Ivan Milat in Australia. He would kill the backpackers. Like, this is almost the same kind of thing.
I don't know. It's hard to think about it just because I feel like there's not enough information.
Yep.
Because you said they were shot multiple times. Authorities like to say with like that level of brutality, it usually means it's like a passion crime. I mean, shooting isn't like close and in the face for like passion, but that much is like overkill.
That's true.
And then, having people say that that wasn't the right caliber gun. Was someone really there to kill somebody, or did they just have like an open carry on them? I mean, it's hard.
There's so many questions and so little information. And actually, what you said kind of is perfect for the next theory that comes up. And this actually comes from Paula, Lisa's mother. In several articles, there's a line stating, quote, Lisa's mother has always wondered if this was a jealousy situation, but that is still unknown, end quote. There isn't anything more on that, so I can't elaborate. On online postings, there are theories that one of the couple's friends had a romantic interest in Lisa. And according to a 2021 Medium article written by the M Files, Lisa's Uncle Mike believes that this guy, who was friends with the couple, was part of the search party. And adding to the theory, apparently this guy that they're talking about up and left the area shortly after the murders. No one has ever mentioned the name, so I don't know where it goes after that, but that's what Uncle Mike and Paula think, at least. I'm not sure what Brandon's parents think. And then the third theory, this one's a little bit more concrete because this is actually written about in newspapers, but apparently Brandon had an argument with an unknown male in the days leading up to the camping trip and subsequent murders. And this information came out within days of the murders happening, so If this unknown male ever came forward, I don't know. I also don't know if this unknown male is Michael Villers. Yet again, we have more questions than we have answers. But apparently the argument happened in the apartment complex, and this guy was described as, quote, tall, husky, white, possibly 40 years old, and wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans, end quote. And at the time this description was released, the police department spokesperson said she wasn't sure if police were considering this person a suspect or if they just wanted to talk to him. So, where does this case stand now? In 2023, Commander Tom Bolt said the following quote, right now, we're in the phase where we're working with genealogy, trying to get some identification from some of the DNA that was at the scene so that we can generate some leads and hopefully find out who did this, end quote. Doesn't seem, though, like it went anywhere with the DNA that they were running in 2023. In 2024, one of the detectives working the case said they were still getting the occasional tip and they were following up. But as of today, which we're in July 2025, there really isn't anything happening, or at least nothing has been released. I'm always hopeful that they're just, finalizing things and we're going to find out soon. There is a $10,000 reward being offered, so if you do have any information on the double homicide of Lisa Guerreri and Brandon Rumbaugh, you are urged to call the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office at 928-771-3278. You can also remain anonymous, and you can call Silent Witness at 1-800-932-3232. Or you can go to the Silent Witness website and submit your tip anonymously as well. And then just to end on another bummer, according to the Find a Grave website, it looks like Lisa's mom Paula passed away last year, in late November 2024 at the age of 71, which sucks. I hate when the parents of murdered children pass away before getting justice, or at least finding out who committed such a terrible crime.
One of the reasons why I hate when parents pass away is because typically they're the biggest supporter in getting the case pushed forward. I feel like cold cases fall even farther to the wayside when no one is pushing, demanding for that justice. And yes, I realize that this is two people that were murdered, and obviously his family is still involved. But are they pushing just as hard for her? What happens? They're probably older. And I do know that they have siblings, but it's different when it's a parent. And you obviously could tell, as you were telling that story, that Paula was very close with her. And it's devastating.
It really is. That makes me really, what really, really bummed me out when the parents of the Beaumont children died, the Australian case.
Yeah.
And I believe the dad just passed away in 2023. It was I feel like we're so close to solving that one. I think the mom passed away in 2014 maybe. Well, that is the story of Lisa and Brandon. There's not a whole lot to it because it's just so mysterious, but those pictures are nuts. What do they mean?
Well, if you do take a look at it, leave us a comment and let us know what you think it is.
Yeah, please do. We would love to know what you guys see. I have seen some crazy theories, but then once you hear people talking about what they think they see, you're like, do I see that? Maybe I see that. Or is my brain telling me I see that?
Exactly. And sometimes it just takes a different set of eyes or people who have seen things similar to that to recognize what it is.
Yep. So if you know anything, give one of those numbers a call. Let somebody know. This has been unsolved for over 2 decades, and I think it's time. It needs to be solved. Until next week, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
That's all we have for this episode of Beyond the Keystone, a Keystone Cold Cases production. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any case suggestions, segment comments, or you just want to say, hey girl, email me at beyondthekeystone@gmail.com. Please remember never to reach out to family or friends of the victim. If you have a tip regarding the case you heard today, please contact police. Find all of our sources, our contact information, and so much more at kccpod.com.